Hi, so this is going to be kind of a long video, so I'll try to speak as quickly as I can. I'm not a very fast talker, but I'm in a very raw emotional state right now, and I just feel like talking because I have no one to talk to. Mosquito. I'm going to be trying to kill mosquitoes throughout this thing because there's so many in this house. Right. So let me try to do this over. Okay, I will try to do this video again. I keep getting distracted by mosquitoes flying around me. So this video is, I wish I wasn't wearing my glasses because I look terrible with these glasses, but I'm just not in any sort of state right now to make myself look pretty or to make myself presentable. I took a shower just to make myself look as presentable as I can, but I'm just I have no energy right now to kind of pull myself together, basically. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I just feel like I need to talk, I need to vocalize. I haven't spoken to anyone all day, and I mean, I've been texting and emailing people and letting them know my situation, people who have who knew that I was pregnant. Basically, I was pregnant. I was only pregnant for about 3 weeks. So this is going to seem kind of strange, but I know that I was pregnant. I didn't test positive on any pregnancy tests. I was doing pregnancy tests, but you know, I miscarried at just almost, I was going into my 4th week just now. I mean, I would say today would be the beginning, or actually tomorrow would be the beginning of my 4th week. So right at the end of my 3rd week, I miscarried. I miscarried yesterday. And so I'm feeling very raw. I'm feeling like I just need to speak and get this out of myself. And it's kind of sad because I was hoping that my first pregnancy video would be when I test positive, because I was testing almost every day, trying not to test every day, but knowing that I was pregnant, knowing because I had so many symptoms. I mean, my body completely transformed and changed in these past 3 weeks. And anyway, I'm gonna try to start at the beginning of my story. So I have not been intimate with a man in 3 years, which is a very long time. I have been focused on other areas of my life, my artwork, my performing, my dancing, and I've always wanted to be in a relationship and have a boyfriend and all that kind of stuff, but it just hasn't happened in many years. And the last person that I was intimate with 3 years ago was one of my best friends. And I had a massive crush on him for a number of years. Actually, got that mosquito. I had a massive crush on him, and I kind of jumped him when he was in a very vulnerable state, breaking up with someone, and he wasn't into me that way, but he was vulnerable, and I was in love with him, so it just kind of happened. And a similar situation with this last one, how I got pregnant, was very similar situation. This guy is one of my best friends, currently one of my best friends, and I basically jumped him. And that's the exact words he used, is that I jumped him. I'm gonna have some of my smoothie. This current guy, we're really good friends. We've known each other for about 2.5 years now, and we've rarely interfaced previously. Than the past couple months we've been hanging out a lot, but we rarely interfaced, just because we hang in the same crowd, in the same sort of group of people. And every time we interact, there was always like a strong sexual tension. At least I felt a very strong sexual tension. And he has admitted that he did feel an attraction to me. And so there was always like little minor flirting, nothing major, but just like an energetic, like feeling that there's something between us. Anyway, so we started hanging out a lot. And he had a girlfriend, not for very long, maybe the past like 2 months. For like 2 months he had a girlfriend, and it's kind of long distance because she lives like a couple hours away. So from us, from the town we live in, and plus she was always busy. Like she was always too busy to see him, which is kind of a red flag. Basically, she wasn't into him, and there's reasons for that. I'm not gonna go into that right now because that's not what this story is about. But she ended up dumping him. Well, basically, what happened before, right around the time she was dumping him, which was like maybe 2 months ago, about 2 months ago, we went out to her house, me and him and a friend of ours. He took the two of us, me and this other friend, out to her house, a couple hours away, to watch a meteor shower. I think the reason why he brought us was because he needed backup, because she really didn't want him there. And we just kind of showed up, and she didn't like, the vibe was very heavy. She didn't really like us being there. So anyway, he I'm probably gonna end up telling my whole story, but that's okay. I feel like talking. So while we were there at her house, there was a lot of tension between her and him, and she had a guy there, and it was like weird, and everything was really weird, but I didn't care because I was I was just hanging out with my friends. No big deal. And so he ends up taking me to the middle of this big field in her backyard, and he says, I wonder if you know what this thing is. There's a rock, a big rock here, and just want to get your opinion about it. So he took me to this rock, and it's a huge, huge rock, kind of like Stonehenge, just out in the middle of this field. So it's obviously some kind of ancient Hawaiian, because I live in Hawaii, an ancient Hawaiian stone of some kind. And so, I touched the rock. I felt the rock. It was really dark. And it was, like 2 o'clock in the morning because we were watching a meteor shower. Anyway, so I'm touching the rock, and then he shines a flashlight, and I find that on the side of this, it's very phallic. It was like a big, sort of phallic shaped rock, taller than a human, taller than a person, and lodged deep, deep into the ground. I mean, I'm guessing it was lodged. It must have been, because it was so tall, and it was standing straight up. So on the side of this rock, right at eye level, is a perfect female vagina. And part of the rock. It was part of the rock, and it was not formed by human hands at all. And it was not a natural formation at all. There was nothing natural about this formation. It was like, looked just like, a female anatomy, a fully functional female anatomy looked exactly like it. I might attach pictures to this video if I feel like editing it, but I did take some pictures of it. And so immediately, and there was a hole, where a vagina hole would be. There's a hole. There's like lips and everything, and there's a hole, and the hole just went in and in and in, and we couldn't really see where it ended. So I immediately blurted out, "Oh my God, this is a fertility stone. This is an ancient fertility stone," which is actually kind of common, in the islands. There are fertility stones that are pretty well known. There's also birthing stones, and just stuff to do with that, sacrificial stones. There's all kinds of stones for all kinds of different reasons in the old days. And I just blurted out, "It's a fertility rock. This is a fertility rock." Like, I just knew that this was a fertility rock, and we're both touching it at the same time. And it was like the energy was so heavy. And, immediately we stopped touching this rock. And, I just, like, said, oh my gosh, like as a joke, I'm going to get pregnant now. Holy crap, I'm going to get pregnant now. And we were just laughing about it, but it was pretty intense. And then I just forgot about it. So later on, like, weeks later or whatever, she ends up dumping him, like, don't call me, I'll call you kind of situation. And he's devastated because he's really in love with this girl. He's still in love with this girl to this day. He just fell head over heels for her. And, it's kind of unusual for him. Oh my gosh, I'm already 10 minutes into this freaking video, but I'm just going to keep talking. I'm just going to keep talking because I feel like talking. So I'll just keep going into the background of this story. So the fertility rock thing, and then he ends up splitting. All right, I have like a slight cold, which has something to do with this as well. So he ends up splitting and going to San Francisco to visit his sister and watch his sister's graduation and kind of heal from this, traumatic breakup. And so he's gone for like 2 weeks. In the meantime, I have my last big performance because I recently quit my dance group that I was a part of. And so we were having our last big showcase. And this was on May 24th. May 24th, so it was a Friday, May 24th, 2013. And I did my performance, and I had no idea he was in the audience. And, he comes up after the performance, he comes up on stage, gives me a big hug, and all throughout the night, it was obvious that he was different. There was something very different about him. And after the performance, I kind of we went outside and we're talking to people, and I had my big costume with this gigantic headdress on, and everybody's talking to me, telling me good job and everything. And then he's talking to one of my friends, and he's talking about his breakup, and he was saying, oh, yeah, he was just explaining like how he got dumped and blah blah blah. And I just jokingly went up to him and stood next to him and grabbed his arm and told my friend, yeah, he's my boyfriend now. Just joking around, and we laughed and everything. And he just boom, all of a sudden he was like, oh, and there was just sparks flying. All of a sudden there was sparks flying. And, he started rubbing my neck. And then we watched some of the other performances together. And one of the performances we watched together, and we wrapped our arms around each other, and it was super, the vibe was there. It was just a heavy, heavy vibe. So the next day, I couldn't stop thinking about him, and so I was like, you know what, the window's open. I'm going to jump through. That's just how I am. I'm very, if I want something, it's really hard for me to hold myself back and not be really super obvious. So I just texted him, and I said, I want to be with you tonight. I want to hang out with you tonight. Let's do something just me and you. And he was just all for it. In his text back to me, it's just oh yeah, let's do this. Let's get together. This is so awesome, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up getting together that night and going to the movies, and we held hands, and it was just for me, I think because I have issues with my body and issues with I have body dysmorphic disorder. I have bulimia. I've spoken about this before in several different videos. And so I think part of the reason why I behave this way is because of those issues. I feel like nobody's going to ever love me. And there's no point in going through the process of getting to know each other. Just there's no chance for a relationship. That's how I feel. So if I'm going to get anything out of this situation, I need to get it now, because obviously they're not going to like me in the long run. So that being said, my whole agenda that night was to jump his bones. Was my whole agenda for that night, was for him to take me back to his house and for us to do our thing. So he just wanted to kind of hang out, and so eventually we did end up going back to his place because I was just like, no, I'm getting tired, and I don't want to drive home, and just kind of like throwing hints out there. But anyway, that's kind of sort of how it happened. I'm not going to go into that. But we did end up getting together that night at his house, and it was very interesting. Probably shouldn't talk about it, but it went on for a long time, like all night long, morning, and honestly, I felt like everything that happened that night was right. Like, it was almost like we were possessed, like we weren't even ourselves doing this. And I think he kind of feels the same way about that too. I haven't really gone into depth to discuss with him. I've told him sort of my feelings about it. Basically, I honestly felt like a goddess, like an ancient goddess. I felt like Pele. I felt like the goddess of fire, the goddess of the volcanoes. And you know, in the legends, in the old legends, how she would give birth was she would make love to either these chiefs or these men, or like gods, different gods, like demigods and stuff. Like one demigod is Kamapua'a, who is like her lover, and he is the god of the rainforest. And you know, they have a very volatile relationship because she goes, when she gets mad, she goes and burns the rainforest down with, you know, she'll go off, the volcano will go off and burn the rainforest, but then he eventually regrows in the places where she devastated. And I just like this guy, his energy is very green. Like his just aura, his etheric energy to me is very green. And he's very like eco-conscious, and you know, he's a vegan, and he, you know, he's just super like anti big business, anti Monsanto, all that kind of stuff. Like he's just super into that, and that's kind of awesome. You know, I like that about him. He was like the first guy that I've ever made out with that didn't have cigarette breath and didn't have drunk like alcohol smell. Um, he's a party boy, but he, you know, he's gone through some issues in his life where, you know, he's had bad things happen. You know, he's currently on parole. I'm try not to go too far into his personal life because I want to post this online. But yeah, he can't do any of that stuff, so he's clean and sober, and so it's kind of cool. Like we're both clean and sober, and it didn't like happen that way, you know, which is kind of unusual for me. But yeah, so it was really intense, and you know, it was unprotected. We had totally unprotected sex, which was actually kind of alarming to me because, like, just all of a sudden he was on top of me, and I just realized that he didn't do it, like, he didn't put anything on. And when I asked him about this later, he said, he really gave me a weird answer because he's like, I usually always do, but for some reason I didn't. And he said, I think it was because I know you so well. And the funny thing about him saying that is he doesn't know me. He doesn't know anything about my history. He doesn't know that much about me, to be honest. So for him to do that was actually really bizarre. And he swears that he usually always uses protection. So that's what I'm saying. It was kind of like we weren't really ourselves at that time. And so that morning he ended up coming inside me, and that's something that's also never happened before. And I kind of heard him saying to me like, I'm gonna and inside you. And he was kind of mumbling that, but I was so out of body, like I was just so in the moment and so out of body that I didn't really register. I mean, maybe I did, but I don't know. It's just like it was all meant to be, and so it happened. And after it happened, I was so exhausted and I was so sore, and all the next day I was complaining that I couldn't walk, and I literally, like, I didn't know, I thought that was just like something people say, but really, like, I couldn't walk, and I was in so much pain, just like, but good pain, like blissful pain, like it was just, I was on cloud nine the whole like rest of that week, and um but I realized, like, wow, we did something really major and intense here. So I'm approaching 20 minutes. I'm going to end this one and then start up another one.